Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Google Cloud's Global Digital Conference, Modernizing IT in a Cloud-First World. I'm Shaista Alia, the customer engineer from India, joining you here live from Singapore.
And my name is Jay Jenkins, and I'm a customer engineer based here in Singapore.
And it's about 11 in Singapore and about 8:30 back there in India. And this session has been played across the globe, and we've been following the sun, and now finally we're doing this for Asia and India.
That's right. So we've done the Americas session, we've done the session for Oceania, just came off of 5 hours doing that, and now we're going to do it again for Asia.
That's correct. And over the next 4.5 hours, we are going to have 3 different tracks. So, can you tell us something about the tracks?
Sure, we've got Migrate, we've got Modernize, and we've got Get Trained.
Interesting.
So, yeah, right. So each focusing on a different thing. So if you're just migrating your current workloads to the cloud, the Migrate track has lots of great information on exactly how you do that and how you plan for that, and a great customer story as well. On the Modernize track, it's about that next step. So not only are we moving workloads, we're actually looking to improve those workloads. So how can I take the best technology that Google has created for themselves and actually leverage that in my own organization? And then get trained.
And Get Trained is where you can get all your, the Quick Lab trainings, etc., and specialized training courses for you to actually help you to migrate onto Google Cloud.
Right, and we've got 20 different speakers, 15 different sessions on those 3 tracks. I believe you're doing one of these sessions, Shaista?
2 of them, actually.
2 of those sessions.
Yes. So I will be taking a session just before you ask. So I'll be taking a session about the considerations while moving to Google Cloud, and of course, the migration strategy. So I will also be doing a session on an actual migration where I'll be taking them through a quick demo as well. So, and talking about the steps that we need to ensure before we migrate onto Google Cloud Platform.
Wow, that's fantastic. And like I said, we have 20 other speakers here presenting, including some customer engineers and professional services people from this region. We have 20,000 people registered from this region, and that's APAC alone, but it's not too late. So you can take your reminder email, forward that to your friends and colleagues, get them to join you in our digital conference.
That's correct. And you mentioned, Jay, that we are customer engineers. So
Yes.
if you would just let our audiences know, what does a customer engineer do?
Great question. So what does a customer engineer do? So what we do is actually work with our customers to figure out how to, for example, migrate their current applications to the cloud. We'll help examine their current architectures, take a look at what those architectures might look like in the cloud, help them figure out how to secure those, how to connect those solutions back to on their own premises if that's required. We also help them look at how they might re-architect that. So how would you reimagine that for the cloud, again, to take advantage of what Google has to offer? And beyond that, how would I actually look at my own operations? So how do I change to sort of a more CI/CD type process? So instead of doing a release every 6 months, I could do a release every week, or maybe even faster than that.
Awesome. So, and I agree, and that the favorite part about my job as a customer engineer is definitely solving customers' problems and helping customers solve their customers' problems. That's one of the key areas where I feel that I just love being in this role.
Yeah, it's funny, whenever we talk to people about joining Google, come to Google and do cool stuff that matters. But I think for us as customer engineers, it's helping our customers do cool stuff that matters.
That's correct.
So yeah, it's super exciting. So let's take a look at actually this platform here that we're on, right? So you'll actually see a few menu items. The first one is Home, which will always bring you back to the current video that you're watching. The second one is for taking a look at the schedule, so you can help plan out your day. And that third one, pretty important,
Is for questions.
That's right.
So you can click on that one and you can ask a question throughout the session once our live session starts, which is in about 26 minutes when our tracks will start. And you can go ahead and ask a question. We have Googlers on standby who are experts, and they will be answering your questions.
Right. And at the end of each one of those sessions, we'll have a flyout coming in with some questions so you can help us know how that session went and let us know how we're doing. And we'll use that information to help us plan moving forward so that we can make these more valuable for you.
That's correct. And feedback is definitely most important for us. And for those of you who are joining us now, I'm Shaista Alia, the customer engineer from India.
And I'm Jay Jenkins, the customer engineer based right here in Singapore.
and we welcome you to a global online conference, Modernizing IT in a Cloud-First World.
Right. So maybe we'll talk about what that means. What does it mean to sort of, I guess, modernize IT for a cloud-first world?
Absolutely. So what do you think it means, Jay?
Yeah, so whenever I think about this, so there are obviously lots of ways you could modernize IT for your own on-premises, but I think whenever you're moving to the cloud, there are different considerations that you make just because of the flexibility, of the capacity, the types of technologies that you could move to, and if you're picking the right vendor partner, how do I actually push the boundaries of that and make sure that I'm ready to adopt new technologies when those things are available?
Yep.
Right? So if you modernize in the right way and you adopt that for a cloud-first world, it'll help you be more flexible in your own operations and help you be more flexible in the future as more types of tools, such as machine learning, become readily available.
That's correct. And I also think that being in a cloud-first world, and while customers evaluate cloud and try to think of moving to cloud, I think there are a number of reasons that kind of push them there. It's obviously, reduced DevOps cost, there's a reduced cost in terms of infrastructure, there is obviously, a much more efficient way of working. So of course the IT teams can focus on better things. And all this put together, I think cost aside, because cost is definitely something Google works on constantly to bring down. But cost aside, I think just the agility that cloud brings in, right? And just moving your apps as is to the cloud might not be so great. But moving your apps and optimizing it for cloud or building it for a cloud first world, that's where I think the value is actually visible to customers for every dollar.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Yeah.
And I think it's too often that people think about cloud as just a way to rent a machine someplace else, but I don't think that really drives the value that you could get out of moving to cloud.
I agree. I totally agree on that.
So as I said, we're going to have 3 separate tracks, one around just pure migration. So I just want to move my workloads to the cloud, and certainly there's value around that. We can help you figure out how to assess that and the considerations that you might have to make, and I believe that's what your session is about, is those considerations. And then we have one around modernization. So again, besides just moving and migrating, what if I want to modernize what I've created? And then the final one is getting trained. So how do I get started specifically with GCP? How do I get started, get trained, have my developers trained, have my operations team trained in order to make the most out of Google Cloud?
That's correct. And the sessions that we have today, we have Google experts sitting on the back end waiting to answer your questions. So please go ahead, and this is the most important button on the left, which is your question button. So please go ahead and ask as many questions as possible throughout the sessions. And also you can see the schedule over here on the platform itself. So please go ahead and watch the track that interests you the most, whether you're looking to migrate some of your applications to cloud, whether you're looking to get trained for your personal development, please go ahead and watch the track that interests you most.
Great. And please forward that link as well. So take that reminder email that you got, forward that to your friends and colleagues so that they can get the benefits of this global digital conference as well.
That's correct.
So what sessions in particular are you looking forward to? Are there any sessions that sort of call out to you and you're like, oh, wow, I really want to...
My sessions?
Your sessions? Those are the ones I'm looking forward to most as well. So first of all, good work doing two separate sessions. Another one of our colleagues, Aaron, is also doing 2 sessions around Kubernetes. And we have Natalie, who was the co-host for the Oceania session. She'll be doing her session again to kick off the Get Trained track. And Corey from the Australian engineering team will be doing a session towards the end of the day around that migration track as well. And then also we have someone for our professional services organization. So Jim is going to actually be talking about that migrate track as well, and how from a professional services perspective, Google can help you.
Interesting. So professional services is something that's really important. It's a different team in Google, and we kind of want to ensure that once your migration strategy is in place, or even if you want help with building your migration strategy and getting there, we offer services for that. And moving ahead, you also have the support, which has gotten really, we've announced recently, we've announced different kinds of support, which is even role-based support, etc. So just to put across there that wherever you are in your cloud journey, we are ready to meet you there. It's just a matter of getting up and evaluating Google as an option.
Absolutely. And there are other members of our team that you should know as well. So professional services organization, but we also have a number of solution architects that can help you with the more complex, complicated architecture. You can engage with our Office of the CTO as well to help better understand and help plan certain strategies around cloud. And we have on that professional services org side somebody called a technical account manager. Who's an extremely valuable resource that you can draw on to sort of understand where cloud is heading, to help you with things like capacity planning, to help you with things like your own internal tracking and billing structures, to help you get, again, the most out of cloud.
That's correct. And Jay, can we also talk about how Google Cloud kind of ensures security for all the customers who are looking to move to cloud just for security reasons and security concerns?
Yeah, absolutely, right. I think it used to be that whenever people were looking at cloud, that they were concerned about the security of cloud. Now we found, so actually this is from the CIO of HSBC, whenever he was talking about moving to cloud, security was also his main concern. But not from, he wasn't concerned necessarily about Google security. It was about using Google Cloud to actually lower his security risk.
Interesting.
Right, so actually a great resource that you can go to is our Google Cloud Platform blog. So it's cloudplatform.googleblog.com where you can get the latest news, and we've recently made some security announcements. So one of those security announcements is around Cloud Armor. So people might not know this, but if you set up a global load balancer on Google Cloud Platform, it actually comes with DDoS protection.
Interesting.
And it's the same DDoS protection that Google uses on its own services. And we take the same sort of learning from our own services and apply those to customers on that global load balancer. In addition to that, what we've announced is we're also allowing policies to be set. So you can do things like blacklists and whitelists and actually push those things into your Stackdriver log, which is a monitoring tool that helps you monitor what's happening with Google Cloud Platform.
And also about the DLP API, which we have launched. So DLP API is something that you can call onto your systems, and it's to reduce data loss prevention. It's for data loss prevention essentially, and you can go ahead and just call the API to your application, and before any kind of data conversation that's happening or any kind of data that you are storing, before it goes into your databases, you can apply the DLP API, and it just masks all the information, right? So there are multiple use cases for this. You can, mask user data before putting it into the database, reduce your liability, or you can also go ahead and mask your data, which might be confidential data, mask your data before doing some kind of analytics on it on BigQuery. So those are the kind of use cases that we've seen for DLP API, which is a really interesting way to ensure security and ensure that your data is not being leaked or not being shared, and still manage to utilize cloud to its fullest.
Yeah, and we've actually consolidated that now into Google Cloud Security Center, which is also recently announced in the past few weeks, where we're taking all that information and consolidating that in one place. So, as an example, let's say you've got a Google Cloud storage bucket and that has personally identifiable information on that. The DLP API will actually run across that and put that in the dashboard, and again, push that to things like Stackdriver, so you can have alerts to let you know if you've got personally identifiable information inside of your Google Cloud storage buckets. And it will also track other things like, for instance, is this Google Cloud storage bucket publicly available?
Yes. So, Jay, I think now that we've spoken so much about, what we're going to do today and what the tracks are going to be like, can you tell me some of the customers that have moved to Google Cloud Platform?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, one of the customers I'm pretty excited about, and it actually applies to the theme today, which is around modernizing IT in a cloud-first world, is Carousel.
Interesting.
So Carousel is an e-commerce platform that allows buyers to connect to sellers. And they were with a previous cloud company, and they were sometimes having downtimes of 10%.
Whoa.
Right, so what they did was they moved to Google Cloud Platform, they worked with our customer engineers, and now they're operating at 4 nines, right? So 99.99% uptime through not only moving to Google Cloud, but also modernizing their IT infrastructure.
So I agree, and I think that, just the fact that you optimize your infrastructure, right? You optimize your architecture while you're moving to the cloud, that's where you actually drive in value. And I'm sure that's what Carousel did.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only did they end up paying less for this infrastructure, they were able to reallocate those resources to actually improve their product.
Interesting.
Right? So they didn't have to spend, 10% downtime to actually fix things. They were now actually improving their platform.
That's interesting. And you mentioned another customer yesterday, which we were discussing offline.
Sure, yeah, Omase.
Yeah.
So there's another customer in Thailand called Omase, and they're running Google Kubernetes Engine, which we'll talk about multiple times today in some of these sessions. And they've actually got an SLO, a service level objective of 5 nines.
Wow.
And actually, since moving to Google Cloud so far, they haven't had any downtime at all.
Wow. So that's essentially what we're talking about. Moving to a cloud which is offering you more flexibility, better reliability, and definitely better security. So these are some of the features of Google Cloud Platform that probably just, that we have talked about, but stay tuned for all the sessions that we have throughout the day. We have 3 different tracks, which is migrate, modernize, and train. So we'll be having around 5 sessions in each of those tracks throughout the day. And please stay tuned and log into, and don't forget to send us feedback and ask questions right here by clicking on the Q button that you can see here.
Right, so again, let's go through those buttons. Right, so that first button, home, will always bring you back to the current session that you're watching. That second one will actually show you the schedule, so you can take a look at the sessions that are coming up. So again, that's 15 sessions across those 3 separate tracks, 20 different presenters, and allow you to get an abstract of those sessions as well, so you can plan your day. And that third button, which I just mentioned, extremely important, is being able to ask questions. So once the tracks start, you'll be able to ask questions, and we'll have people standing by ready to assist. I'll hop in as much as possible to help assist answering some of those questions as well.
And for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to our global conference, Modernizing IT in a Cloud-First World. And this is me, Shaista Alia, and
my name's Jay Jenkins, so I'm a customer engineer based here in Singapore.
And we're joining you live from Singapore. And today, like we mentioned, we're going to be we have had sessions for America, and we've had sessions for ANZ earlier in the day, and now we've come down to Asia and India. And we have about 20,000 people logged in only from the APAC region.
Just APAC, yeah.
Just APAC, and that's over 40 countries. So all these registrants waiting out there, please stay tuned, watch out all the sessions, and don't forget to ask questions, provide feedback.
Right, and one of the reasons why we have a digital conference is so we can scale, so we can definitely do more than 20,000. So if you have friends or colleagues that might be interested in some of the content that we have today, please take that reminder email that you got, forward that to your friends and colleagues so that they can join us. So, talking about customers, what are some of the key considerations that you see from your customers in India whenever they're looking at either migrating or modernizing with Google Cloud Platform?
So I think the key considerations that customers have is mostly technical, but coming to the business side of it, I feel that's some place that customers don't really, put it on priority one, whereas I think it's equal priority. So just in terms of understanding the business and ensuring that the business group has been kept in the loop, whether it's change management within the org, or whether it is getting your team trained on Google products, and all of those things are also important. So architecture-wise, we are definitely, it's going to be as easy to lift your system and put it on Google Cloud, run it there. We support a lot of OSs and all of that. But just on the business front, also understanding where your end users are, ensuring that your architecture kind of meets those needs. You have a global load balancer. If you have your customers reaching out to you from different locations in the globe, if you have your internal users as well, your internal IT team, etc. They need to be trained, and we constantly keep having these kind of conferences that we're having now. We have different sort of training sessions that we do. We have quick labs, Coursera courses, all of those. We also have a certification that is available for all those of you who want to go ahead and do that. So we have all those things listed out on cloud.google.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a good point, just around the fact that it's more than just about the technology that we offer. So certainly at Google, we invented a lot of the technologies that are being used in cloud today, and it's one of the things I love is that we've been very open about the research, and we've created a lot of open source tools as well, which we share with the broader community, which are used by multiple cloud vendors. Because we know that that's not the only thing, right? There's differentiation through the platform that we provide in terms of the reliability. So one of the great stories of, I guess, last year for us, but early this year for a lot of people was around things like Spectre and Meltdown. Right, so essentially this is a CPU-based exploit. The Google Cloud team actually discovered that exploit in the middle of last year, worked with Intel, also worked with a lot of the other cloud vendors in order to mitigate those security exploits. And we're actually able to create a fix which had very little impact to our users. And in fact, we were able to patch for all of our users without any downtime for customers. And we're only able to do that because of the fantastic hypervisor that we use. So our KVM allows things like live migration of these instances to minimize downtime for customers.
Interesting. And like you mentioned, so I get this question a lot about how Google Cloud is different, how Google Cloud is different from the other public cloud providers. And these are the kind of things that are differentiating factors for us, the kind of open source that we have. We've been the leaders of open source technology, and we don't plan to stop doing that. We do plan to continue on that as well. The focus is definitely, and in terms of our network, so, of course, we are giving you a better cost, but in terms of network, the Google backbone is where your traffic, about 40% of the public internet traffic kind of flows on the Google backbone. So we have those kind of data which is available. And also on this network, when I say that is the differentiating factor, the reason being that this is a petabit scale network, right? Mm-hmm. So all you need to do is you need to reach the point of presence closest to you, which would be probably in a close by town or a city in the same geo as yourselves as the customers. And of course, after that, your traffic is completely on the Google network, the Google backbone. We have our own undersea cables. And of course, then you definitely need not worry about speed. Like, how many times have you found Gmail to be slow?
Yeah, absolutely, right. So again, you're taking advantage of the same network that Google uses for Google.com and YouTube. So you can expect the same sorts of reliability and scalability. And our customer engineers, so like Shaista and myself, are here to help you with that. So if we take a look at, I guess, the investment that we've made in the region last year, right? So we've opened the data center for cloud customers here in Singapore, a region in Sydney, a region in Mumbai as well.
Correct.
And we've made some announcements, right? So we're going to open up a new region in Hong Kong, another region in Osaka, which will be joining our regions in Taiwan and Tokyo. There's a lot of investment. But you also talk about the network is Google lays its own fiber, right? So we're actually fiber owners. So we're laying a new cable into this region, which will connect Singapore to Jakarta, to Perth, and around to Sydney, right? So this is all fiber and bandwidth that you can use.
Exactly. And like I mentioned, that even moving on to the costs, right, about how Google is different in terms of cost. So we've been the perennial leaders. And when I say that, I mean that we completely believe in the law that states that, just because a customer is using too much, we shouldn't tax them for using too much. We should, in fact, discount them because they've been using so much of our services. So that's the philosophy that we kind of come from. And we've implemented that across all the, if you just open the Cloud Console, you get things like right-sizing recommendations. So I'll speak more about this in my session later. But, you have options, or the system itself is intelligent enough to let you know that you have over provisioned a machine. Mm-hmm. So just given that fact, you can go ahead and reduce that. And when you want to reduce this, what happens when you're using a machine or you've over provisioned a machine and you don't have a set machine type for that machine?
Right.
You have things like custom machines, which you can go ahead and just select the number of cores that you want, the RAM that you want, and you can go ahead and have your own custom machine type. So there are various other, and there's of course, I think sustained use discounts. Sorry,
Yes, sustained use
SUD
discounts.
is all I remember.
Yes.
But yes, sustained use discounts, and where you can go ahead and get up to 30% discount. And this is only because you've been using our machines 24/7 for more than a month. For the whole of the month. So automatically at the end of the month, you get a 30% discount. So those are the kind of savings that customers can make on Google Cloud. And
Right.
that makes it a differentiating factor in terms of cost, in terms of network, in terms of just the machine learning that we have. Do you want to talk more about the machine learning and Kubernetes? Because that's your
Sure.
favorite area.
It is definitely one of my favorite areas. Actually, earlier I mentioned, that we've got some announcements and stuff on cloudplatform.googleblog.com. We actually just had a new announcement this morning that we have a text-to-speech API available. So you should definitely check out the blog in order to keep updated with what's available on Google Cloud Platform. So this text-to-speech API, so people might be familiar with our speech-to-text API where you can use a recorded speech or live speech and turn that into text. What text-to-speech does is it uses DeepMind WaveNet capabilities in order to create natural sounding speech from text.
Interesting.
Right, so that was available and just announced this morning. But I think just from machine learning, Kubernetes, it is about not only just modernizing IT, it's about finding those partners and vendors that are really pushing the boundaries of what the cloud can be and what the cloud can offer. And as customer engineers, as Shaista said, we really love working with customers and figuring out what their business problems are. Is we don't want to just offer you technology. We want to offer you some advisory consulting on how you could be doing things, on how you might change your CI/CD processes, around how you might change your DevOps processes. We're going to talk a little bit about that in some of the Kubernetes sessions, but also one of the sessions that I'm pretty excited about is the SRE session. So the site reliability engineers. So the site reliability engineers are an extremely important function at Google in terms of keeping our systems up and running and managing those systems in a different way so we can balance the reliability and scalability with adding new functionality. So we've got a site reliability engineer from Google, a site reliability engineer from one of our customers, and also a new function called a customer reliability engineer, which is part of our cloud team, and it's a Google engineer that we place with the customer to actually help them do DevOps in a better way.
That's so interesting. And we have a session on it today as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about the keynote. So in a little over a minute, we've got Diane Bryant, our COO for Google Cloud, to talk a little bit about what today's about, which is around modernizing IT and why Google Cloud Platform is the best place to do that. And we also have Marco Lupisto, who's a solution architect from right here in Singapore, who's going to talk about some of the capabilities of the Google Cloud Platform and how you can take an undifferentiated service and differentiate it based on the types of technologies that it supports.
Interesting. So stay tuned for all the sessions and do join our tracks as well. We have 3 tracks: migrate, moderate, modernize, and of course get trained. And you can go ahead and punch in your questions, and we have Google experts on standby waiting to answer.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.